Hi there, it's Jodi. I have some tips to share with you today because I've experienced myself and I've also had some customers ask me, how do you get a good solid image? So one of my cards in my card club this month is this with the 3 trees. And those are very solid images. And you want to make sure that you get a nice consistent look there, as opposed to what sometimes happens when we get little blotches. So what I want to do today is show you a few things that have helped me that I think will help you get good solid images. So I'm going to go ahead and flip my camera. I think, there we go. And get this set up here. So I've got a few things setting here. Sorry, just adjust a little bit. There, I think that's a little bit better. Okay, so just to pull this card in again, this is one of my 4 club cards for this month, and my card club for October 2023 features Merriest Trees. It's an awesome stamp set. It's got coordinating dies that I'm going to show you in a moment, but it's just been so much fun to play with. So this is the card that I struggled with a little bit when I was designing it because I was getting more of a blotchy look like this. So then I figured out what I needed to do, and I thought I would share that with you today. So let me scoot some things out of the way. For the largest image here, excuse me, I am using the E acrylic block. And so what I want to do is set it so that this is the part that gets the ink that's stamped. So I'm going to set that down on my scrap paper. Sorry, I'm just adjusting my camera a little bit more here. Sorry. Get it. There we go. That's better. Okay, so my image is going to go face down, and then I'm going to set my block over it. The reason I want to do that is because I want to give it good, solid, consistent pressure to avoid any air bubbles. If I took this and set it like this and tried to put it on the block, there's a good chance, and it's really hard to see. Yeah, it's really hard to see, but it's not consistent. It's not an even pressure. So some of the photopolymer is not attaching to the block in a consistent way, if that makes sense. So to attach it, I always set it down, take the block over it, and then press down with some good, consistent pressure. So that's my first tip, is to make sure that you're putting your stamp on the block in a way that's not going to give you air bubbles. Okay, the next thing, let me pull in some basic white cardstock. On this card that I showed, I used Old Olive, Garden Green, and Shaded Spruce ink pads. And so I'm just going to go ahead and grab my Shaded Spruce. And first, you're going to want to make sure there's enough ink on your pad. If your pad is drying out at all, it's definitely not going to give you that good, consistent coverage that you want. So make sure your ink pad has plenty of ink on it. I'm going to push my sleeves up a little bit just to make sure I don't get inky. And then I can tap across the ink pad and take a quick look. Now, when I look at this, oh, it's pretty obvious I missed there. I can go back. And then I've got some inconsistency there. So I can tap that back there again and just be really intentional about where I apply the ink. So if I like the way that looks, I can go like that, just keep going back over, checking things. There's still a little bit right there. You see that? So sometimes I take my pad and I pick it up. Let me set it down. And I tap this way. So I set the stamp down and I put the ink pad in my hand to give it some good, even stamping. So let's see if this one works. I also want to make sure I push over the entire image. I don't just want to give it pressure in one spot and not the other. So there's still a little bit of inconsistency there. Let's try. I'm going to make sure I don't have lint or anything on the stamp as well. There's so many variables that can affect the way your solid image stamps. So definitely the way you put it on the block, definitely making sure your ink pad has plenty of ink. And then just when you stamp it up like this, just making sure that it's all consistently on there. There's a little hair or something down there. So I'm going to do that again. Now, another thing that I can do is I can leave this face up. I can set my cardstock on it like this. And then I like to fold the scrap paper over and just rub. So this way I'm intentionally making contact with the whole stamped image. I can feel it under my fingers and feel exactly where the different parts of the tree are. And it just helps to make sure that every part of that tree is connecting with the cardstock. So I can pull it up like that, and it's a much more solid image. Let me grab another piece. Another thing that you can do, first of all, it's good. I've got a nice hard table here. Sometimes we work on tables that are, I'm trying to think, like in my craft room, I used to have these 8-foot white tables. I can't think of the name. I know there's a name like for that particular kind of table, but it had inconsistencies in it. It was almost kind of wavy at points. And, that would definitely affect how my images would stamp. So you want to have a really good hard surface, or you can also use our piercing mat and set that under your cardstock and then pull your stamp. Oh, I maybe didn't do a good enough job getting ink up there. I mean, it's consistent at least, but I should have looked at that more closely. But putting a cushion like the piercing mat underneath definitely helps you get that solid image that you're looking for. Another thing some people like to do, I don't do this one too often. I have better luck just with the other tips I've shared, but some people like to take some gentle sandpaper and even gently go over the photopolymer to kind of scuff it up a little bit. And it helps the ink, just attach better to the stamp. Like I said, that's not one I do too often, but I know that some people have really good luck with that. And then the last thing is to make sure you have a quality cardstock. I will never forget years ago, when I was still doing like in-home parties for people, I had a customer and she was talking about how she could not get her images to stamp correctly. And her one friend just called her out and she's like, well, if you wouldn't use that cheap cardstock, it would work better. And I mean, I felt kind of bad for the person, but it was truth because it matters. Like if you have quality cardstock that you're stamping on, it will definitely give you a better image than less quality, less expensive cardstock. So just keep that in mind. So I want to pull this card back in and kind of show you how I did that. So I used this one image 3 times with 3 different colors of ink. So the old olive, garden green, and shaded spruce. But what I did is I stamped it, you know, the few different times, and then I used the different dyes. So first of all, there's this large one, and that cuts out all 5 layers. That's what we have here. Then there's one that cuts out the top 4, and that's what I have here. And then there's one that cuts the top 3, and that's what I did here. There's even one that cuts out the top 2, so you could have a little tree. And then there's even just the teeny tiny baby top for one little tree. So I think that is so creative in the way they designed this to be able to use one image to get so many different sized trees. So my one card here with 3 different sized trees is actually all the same image and just using the different dyes that come in the bundle. So I really, really enjoyed working with that. It just gives you so much versatility. You might notice on this one, I've got some of the, there's a gold and silver shimmer paper that's available in the online exclusive. So you're not going to see it in a catalog, but it is available to add to any order. And so there's silver glimmer paper, and I'll show you another card from my club this month, this gold. And you can see it's got gorgeous, gorgeous sparkles in there, the way it reflects the light. But the best thing about it is that it's self-adhesive. So it's sticky on the back. So when I die cut the little tiny snowflakes or die cut the garland for the tree, I just peel it off. It's already sticky on the back, and I can just set it right on my project. So it's so easy to work with. I just want to quickly pull in my other 2 cards. My card club always has 4 cards, and these are the 4 for this month. I absolutely loved working with this bundle. Again, it's called Merriest Trees. So this is the stamp set, and then it's got coordinating dies. I showed you a few of them, but these cards were just so fun to make and would be super easy to duplicate for your Christmas cards this year. So you have a few more days to sign up for my October card club. I'll put a link to that information here so that you can see all of the details. But I hope you found this helpful. If you've struggled at all to get good, solid images, I hope that some of these tips were helpful and you can feel more confident and enjoy more when you have those solid images to get them to look the way that you want them. So thanks so much for watching. Look in the comments here for some links. Have a great day.